It is time for Football at 4, and we have actual football to talk about. Kind of. Carolina Panthers, Cleveland Browns, preseason opener for both teams tonight. They did have a joint practice on Wednesday where they, in a more controlled environment, went up against each other in certain periods. And actually, there's probably some more good on good there because the Browns will not be playing their starters in the actual preseason game tonight. So, you know, if you wanted reps against their best, you got them on Wednesday, which I think coaches actually kind of like. But that gives you a different opportunity in the preseason tonight. What do you want to see, right? And not just from rookies, right? Obviously, a lot of this will come back down to Bryce Young. What do you want to see? Well, I can tell you this. After seeing Anthony Richardson last night, I want to see veterans making good decisions becomes the priority. If you watched the Colts game last night, Colts-Ravens, very early on, I'm going to do my best to break this down quickly. They had an empty protection, which means everybody was out into a route. They had 5 blockers, the offensive line, 2 guards, 2 tackles, and a center. There are certain things you need to know as a quarterback when there is a empty protection, such as which potential rusher is yours, okay? Based on where you set the mic, based on what protection you have, there's going to be, especially if there's 6 in a legitimate blitzing rushing stance or area of the field, one of them is going to be yours. Based on all the context clues that I could muster, Anthony Richardson should have known that the furthest to the right was his. The guy furthest to the right ran, blitzed, again, trying to keep this as kind of simple as possible, and he did not do anything about it. Got stuck in the chest with a face mask, which is, you know, exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation. He ended up dislocating his pinky. There's all the still images zoomed in of, you know, his 4 fingers pointing one way and then the pinky pointing another. That's unnecessarily opening yourself up to an injury in a preseason game. And I actually refrain a lot from doing what I just did because it's not like in my college career at the FCS level, I never made any mistakes in reads or protections or anything like I did. But occasionally you have to go like, no, actually, I'm pretty sure like 10 weeks into my freshman year, I wouldn't have been, like from that point forward, that particular mistake would have been one I was aware of. And it's not like they blitzed the house, right? Like you just kind of got to know. So I look at Bryce Young and say, we can figure out schematics. We can figure out, which players need to be put in different situations. We can figure it out. Who cares if we win this game or not? You can't open yourself up unnecessarily to injury. You can't prevent all injuries. Don't play scared. But if you have a empty protection, you know, if your glance normally to see if you're hot in a certain situation is like a quick glance, give it a little extra beat. Make sure.
Yeah, I mean, number 1 priority's got to be stay healthy, and number 2 priority is don't get hurt.
And like there was just running back over the top was a super easy answer. If in that particular situation, just a little dump off, you probably pick up 8 yards. Secondarily, you're Anthony Richardson. Right? That's the exact opposite of me. What I mean by that is if you knew the guy was coming, you probably could have just shook him off and run. You probably could have bought time and still done whatever you wanted to do because you're an absolutely unreal athlete. So Bryce Young, beat him with your mind. Beat him with your brain. You're going to be out there against the Browns' backups, right? They're going to be overzealous, right? If there's a chance, for one of them to make a name for themselves with a sack, they're going to. So use their overeagerness against them, and then go from there, right? Then we can figure out, decision making as far as where to throw it and everything else. But the first thing you have to do is be a professional quarterback out there. Then the rest that I'm looking for is, as I said earlier, physically look better than last year. I think the last 2 years, there were times where the Panthers couldn't win games because they just couldn't physically keep up with their opponent. They didn't have the horses, if you will. So I'd like to see them have the horses. I'd like to see them look physically superior to what they've looked like on the field the last 2 years. But really what I'm looking for is position battles. Really what I'm looking for is position battles. Because let's be real. Bryce Young can lay a stinker tonight. He's the starting quarterback week 1, right? Robert Hunt could miss a block. He's the starting guard, week 1. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So, who's starting at safety? Damani Richardson, Nick Scott, Lathan Ransom. Those are the 3 guys that I believe are in the running. There might be more. There might be other guys that we don't even know about. Now, how are they going to decide? Obviously, it will be an accumulation of everything they've done, contracts that they're paid, what they've done before in their career, what they've done up to this point in camp. But I'm telling you right now, if one of them makes a great play on the ball, either gets an interception or nearly gets an interception, I'm putting them at the head of the list. Because the number one thing that I think the defense for the Panthers needs to do better this year than last year, aside from darn near everything, the number one thing is get their hands on the ball. Because I still don't think they're going to be a good defense. I'm hoping they're not a bottom 10 defense in the league, but I still don't think they're going to be a good defense. And if you're not a good defense, you have to get turnovers when you can. It's a way that you can give up a whole bunch of yards and still give your offense a chance, is if you occasionally set them up in the red zone or you occasionally take points off the board with a turnover on your own end. So if you show me you're better than the other two at getting your hands on the ball, you go right to the head of the line as far as who I want to be the safety opposite of Trevon Merrick. Another position battle. This was picked as the most interesting position battle for the Panthers by ESPN. Center. Austin Corbett, Cade Mays, the veteran and the much more unproven younger guy. Now, offensive line's a little different, right? I do think the safeties, like if you make 2 or 3 plays, you move to the front of the line. Offensive line is the exact opposite, right? I don't think you can win the job with an awesome block. I don't think it's like, did you see that double team? We got up to the second level and took out the linebacker, and Chuba gained 4 extra yards because of it. Give me the job. Like, you want good plays, but I think it's more about like not losing it, right? If there are 2 sacks and your name's called on both of them, they're probably not going to feel super comfortable having you out there week 1 protecting a very valuable asset in Bryce Young. And then I'm fascinated by who's going to be returning kicks for the Panthers. Right now, at the top of the unofficial depth chart is Raheem Blackshear. Raheem Blackshear, at best, 4th running back. There's a world where you can get a roster spot back if you can find somebody else, essentially, that you trust to be the kick returner or punt returner. Right now, it's Raheem Blackshear, and then backing him up as a punt returner is Hunter Renfrow. And Trevor Etienne is on the list as a kick returner, the 4th round running back. And then I think 4th string at both is Jimmy Horn Jr. I want Jimmy Horn Jr. to get a couple chances in the preseason. Based on everything we're hearing for how he's performing as a wide receiver, his skill set is one that makes sense as a returner. Okay, speed, shiftiness, open field, run after the catch, precision, all those sorts of things. They play well for kick returners and punt returners. And if Jimmy Horn is on your roster, quote unquote, mostly as a returner, that makes your decision much easier on who to cut as a wide receiver. Right? Because if you only want to carry 6 wide receivers, you can go, well, we can carry 6 and then a kick returner. That's kind of like the 7, right? Because right now it seems like they have 7 guys they want to keep. It's Tetero McMillan, it's Thielen, it's Xavier Legette, it's Coker, it's Renfrow, it's Jimmy Horn Jr., and David Moore. David Moore's probably the one on the chopping block. He might be out there rooting for Jimmy Horn Jr. to be a better kick returner than everybody as well. Right? Like that roster spot's a kick returner roster spot, right? Not a wide receiver roster spot. Yeah, you could be on the wide receiver list, but Like that's one of the options. And I referenced this earlier, but Jimmy Horn Jr.'s college teammate at Colorado, LeJounte Wester, I believe he made the team for the Ravens last night. Right? Preseason doesn't matter, except he returned a kick for 80-something yards and a touchdown, returned a punt, went 80-something yards and a touchdown. I believe he made the roster last night.
It doesn't matter until it does.
Exactly. That's the other thing. If he would have caught it, made one guy miss, gained 5 yards on a punt return and got tackled, wouldn't have cost him anything. Like, it would have just been like, all right, yeah, that's good. Plus, right? That's a positive return. But instead, he made the one more guy miss, saw a crease, took off, scored a touchdown. I mean, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get the first run as a punt returner on one of the best teams in the NFL week 1. You can do that. You can go make your name in a preseason game. And then, by the way, it's incremental, right? You get one more opportunity. If he shows up next week in the preseason and drops 2 punts and they're both recovered by the other team, he can go right back. But he's made up ground in his pursuit. By the way, the Ravens special teams overall look pretty good, which probably means the Colts special teams need to head back to the drawing board. Some guys may have lost a job on that kick return as well that were on the coverage team, so that also happens. But I'm excited for tonight for the Panthers. I don't care if they're playing the Browns third stringers. There's still a ton of information, or second stringers. There's still a ton of information we can glean from how the players are used and what they do with those opportunities.